Hello everyone, in this video I'll be sharing many different grounded secrets with you. Now please pay attention to the countdown clock on screen. It goes without saying that with there being secrets, there will be spoilers. I will be discussing grounded lore, Easter eggs, shortcuts, certain story plots, tips, and more. And now, that takes us to secret number 1. In order to best understand secret number 1, we need to go to the Oak Lab. You will find a picture in the Oak Lab of Wendell's kids playing with their pet hamster. And if you zoom in a little, you can notice that Sarah is giving the hamster a stick of gum. Now that you have this background, let's visit a few locations. So the first location is located here on the map. This is in the upper yard. You will notice that there is a large bone skeleton, and if you look where the stomach would be, there is a piece of gum. Now hold that thought, and let's go over to the second location. Now here's the second location on the map. You just need to push into this cave here. This cave does have quite a few unfriendly faces, so you will need to pummel them into the ground and make this their graveyard as well. Now as you get to the back of the cave, you will see the second skeleton, and again, the gum is in their stomach. Essentially, this clue hints at the fact that Sarah and Thor accidentally killed their beloved hamsters. Now if you look at the rock on the outside of this cave grave, you will notice that it says Dan the Hamster 3, indicating that there was at least 3 hamsters. However, as far as I'm aware, there is only 2 skeletons or grave sites. If you do know of a third, then please let me know down in the comments. Alright, so now for number 2. If you go to this location on the map, which is located in the hedge, this is just to the right of the shortcut that leads to the upper hedge. Walk past where this orb weaver is, or of course kill them, of course, and take their body parts, because you want to craft them some cool looking gear, and then head inside the cave, and you'll find a bunch of ant totems. These totems are actually an Easter egg for another survival game, the forest. And on the images here on screen, you can see the resemblance between these two. Alright, now let's talk about the voice actors. First, we've been talking about the English version. There's also a Japanese version of the game, or of the voice actors. So in the English version, Zachary Levi plays Dr. Wendell Tully. Other notable roles for Zach are Shazam in the last 2 installments. He was also the voice actor for Flynn Rider in Disney's Tangled. He also voice acted that character in the video game Kingdom Hearts 3. And a notable TV show you may have seen him in is Chuck on NBC. He does have plenty of other iconic roles, but I'm sure you have a good idea of who he is based off the information I just shared. So moving on over, we have Max, who is played by Luke Youngblood. He also played Lee Jordan in the Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone and Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. He also played Magnitude in the NBC series Community. Now, Pete is voice acted by Max Middleman. His most notable role is One Punch Man as the main protagonist. And then we have Charlotte Chung, who plays as Hoops and is best known for her role as DVA or Diva in Overwatch. Now let's talk about the Japanese version. And a quick side note here, I do apologize as I will probably mispronounce most, if not all of these names, but I definitely wanted to include them. So Max is voiced by Nobuhiko Okamoto, who also voices Katsuki Bakugo from My Hero Academia. Willow is voiced by Junko Takeuchi, the voice of Naruto Uzumaki. Now this one blew me away and I thought that was really cool. Alright, now moving on from the voice acting, here are some other random different secrets or tips. If you beat the game, you already know this, but there's a rap at the end of the credits that plays, and it completely caught me off guard. I will not be playing it here in this video, so you can experience it for yourself, and for copyright issues, of course, as well, but it is hilarious, and if you haven't already heard it, then it's definitely something to look forward to. Alright, now let's talk about a fun little fan theory. For this theory, we're going to ignore all extra material and focus only on the game itself. So unlike the other kids, Pete never gives his last name. The others introduce themselves as Allie Hoops, Maxwell Smalls, and Willow Branch, while Pete says Peter, but my friends call me Pete. The game seems to be hiding Pete's last name. Now, Dr. Wendell mentions in an audio log that he has a son and wants to entertain him with an experiment. Now, we do know that he has a son named Thor, but let's keep going. The house and the upper yard belong to Dr. Wendell, so this implies that the Not Dungeons and Dragon games on the picnic table might belong to him or his son. Now, Pete mentions that he does like this game in one of his introductory lines. Also, Dr. Wendell created the terrible tasting mussel sprouts you could find in the Pond Lab, and this was done from an abundance of Brussels sprouts. There's also a log that states that no one in his family but Dr. Wendell likes Brussels sprouts. And when you're out harvesting food in the game, as Pete, he'll often compare eating bugs to my father's Brussels sprouts. So it could be suggested that it is possible Pete could in fact be one of Dr. Wendell's kids, but this is just a theory, and there's not a lot of evidence to go off of. Also, if we do consider other material that's out there, the Steam cards do reveal Pete's full name is Pete Boggs, but this is not stated anywhere in the official game. Alright, so now move on over to the rotten armor and weapons. Essentially, these are items you find in the game, and they were actually used from previous people in the yard who were shrunken down. There are different skeletons you can locate throughout the yard, and some of these belong to the Omni employees, and others potentially could be the previous kids, but all of the rotten gear was previously used from somebody who was in the yard. And the same can be said for the scabbies. At one point in time, all of these were actually worn by somebody else. Alright, now here's another Easter egg. The bikes found in the yard have a wrap on them that says Sam Squatch. This is actually a call out to Trailer Park Boys. Now the next one here, you'll want to go over to the composter, and if you can get an aerial view, you can see that all the highlights on the wood are actually a drawing. Now I changed the lighting in the second image so you can see the drawing just a bit better. Alright, now let's talk about a couple of mutations. So first, there's a hidden mutation that completely changes the game and is often used in a lot of different builds. So you want to start here at this statue and make your way over to the flooded area and hop down into the hole and swim all the way through to the other side. On the other side, you will find the 4-leaf clover. This unlocks the coup de grace mutation. This mutation increases your critical hit chance. Now, this only gives you the first part of the mutation. You unlock the second part by going to the picnic table and looking for the dice in the middle. You need to flip this dice over by whatever means necessary until the 20 is on top. And then you will see a little animation play and you will have unlocked the second part of this mutation. Alright, now the next mutation we're going to talk about is the mysterious Mant mutation, so essentially gives you a 1% chance of summoning the Mant as an ally. Now this is a call out or an Easter egg for the Fallout video game series. The Fallout games actually had a similar ability as to this mysterious Mant ability, and the reason it is in the game here is because the developers for the original Fallout games leading up to Fallout New Vegas, once they had left those games and finished with the franchise there, some of them actually came over and are some of the developers for Grounded. Alright, now here is a hidden weapon or another experiment. If you go to the right side of the pond, as you can see here on the map, there's a small crack in the rocks that you can build up to. And you'll need to blow the door open with a bomb, and then inside you could find the pinch whacker weapon, which does quite a bit of damage early on. You'll also find that they were experimenting on berries in here, and it looks like at one point that berry may have actually came alive and destroyed everything in this testing area, as well as the people. You will actually notice some teeth if you look through the window on one of the chairs very closely. Alright, now let's move on over to the barbecue area. If you are just looking to get past the barbecue area, you can simply just walk along the top of the lid. Just walk/run towards the lid, and you will work your way all the way up the top without ever having to worry about the sizzle. Just be careful you don't fall down below, because there is a couple of wolfies down there. Alright, so now for the next one here, you've probably noticed the pre-existing zipline anchors that don't have ziplines attached to them. You can easily just give these a new zipline if you will, or attach them to a whole new base if you'd like. But essentially what will happen is if you just attach the zipline from point A to point B, it's actually going to go through and give you a shortcut to other materials that would typically be a lot more difficult to access. So this one here is actually going to be to the bird bath. It'll give you a quick shortcut just to the bird bath without having to build all the way up, saving you quite a bit of materials. And there's another one over on the picnic table, which will go through and take you straight to the sandbox, which also is quite high, again needing a lot of materials. Alright, so this next one is just a straight up tip, and it's actually come from a couple of different comments on my previous Grounded Tips videos about people not being able to find flower petals because essentially they've picked up all the ones on the ground. Now depending on the type of flower, for example the red rose by the pond, you will find them on the ground. You can also go to the top of the buds on other flowers and actually chop them down preemptively and get them that way. So there are a couple of different ways to access these flowers. It is not, you don't have to just wait for them to fall on the ground. Alright, now this next one here is actually going to make the pond quite accessible. You can actually go through and throw out a decoy bait and throw it in the water either near the surface or underwater, and this will attract both spiders and the boatmen towards it. So it will make exploring the area significantly easier, or if your intention is to kill them all and farm them up, it'll also save you the trouble having to go through and essentially hunting each and every one of them down, as long as you actually have the ability to take on that many creatures at once. Alright, now here is a secret path, and it leads to the upper yard without you having to build. You can just go to this location here that was on the map, and essentially at the bottom of it you will find some loot on the bottom of this cave, and then you will want to loop around so you could jump onto the edge of the rocks, and then there is a rock that you can blow up, and you can use this to go straight to the upper yard. Now technically you could parkour up there if you know the path and you can make the jumps, but the bomb is the intended way, and I would say it is a lot easier to do it if you have the bomb anyways. Or as you know, if you're not worried about speed running. Alright, now these next two are a bit more story oriented. In the upper yard you will find wasp nests. If you can destroy 3 of them in one day and then you sleep, you will trigger a cutscene and unlock a new area with the wasp queen and another black widow spawn. Now the second one is in the haze. The haze is an area you probably avoid unless you know what you're doing or you have prepared adequately. Now if you just work your way up to the canister, you can plug the haze with the gum and loot all the good stuff in the haze that it originally had to offer that was far more difficult to access. But do know that this comes at a cost loss of the infected exploding bugs appearing in areas that they were present in before, and all the infected bugs, including things like ladybugs, will immediately become hostile when they see you, or the player, and you also unleash the infected wolf spider upon the yard. The reason I bring this specific one up is if your intention is specifically just to go to the haze lab, there is actually an alternative route to get to the haze lab. You actually just need to go here on your map, and basically you need to hop down into the water to go through this pipe. And once you hop into this pipe, if you have the appropriate gear, which typically just means you can stay in the water longer, and you have the ability to deal with creatures like through a dagger or a trident in the water, this will actually take you into a back section of the haze lab and allow you to have an alternative route in and out of the haze without having to go through the actual haze area itself. Alright, for the next one here, if you're having a hard time with the black ox beetles and you head to this location on the map, which is pretty close to the hedge and above a black widow spawn, just look for this crevice in this area. It's essentially where the water from the water fountain is supposed to come out, and then there are 2 black ox beetles below. If you can get around them and to the exit point, then you can just cheese them with a ranged weapon if you are struggling to fight them. Alright, so now guys, if you remember the hamster in the upper yard earlier, well, when you're really close to that location, there's actually a cave nearby. In that cave has a puzzle. There is a red ball that you have to maneuver around through attacks or explosions, and really whatever means necessary. It can be a little tricky, but the ball is actually the only way to get to the resource materials and the molar in this location, and it's really fun trying to figure out and experiment as long as things are going your way. Otherwise, it can be a bit frustrating if you just can't get the ball to move. Alright, now let's head on over to the castle here. There's actually a button that you can smash on the right side of the castle, and essentially it's going to give you some different audio cues each time you hit it. They usually all involve basically trying to intimidate you or possibly telling you that they want to kill you, but yeah, it's good fun. Alright, now the next one here, there's actually another cave in the upper yard just below the corner of the deck that you can blow up with another bomb. If you guys haven't already figured out, make yourself a bunch of bombs because there's a whole bunch of hidden good stuff. And once you blow this cave up, essentially you're going to find yourself a tooth and another black widow. Alright, now another location that can be altered, again, with a bomb is the shovel by the picnic table. Blowing up the rock below the shovel will actually drop the shovel down and grant you a path all the way to the top. This is easily one of the best shortcuts in the games, as the picnic table on the top is very, very high up, and it's going to take you an immense amount of stairs to get up there, but having this shortcut is definitely game-changing. Alright, now for this next tip here, if you go to this location on the map, you'll actually see that you're going to be ending up in a pipe. Go through and navigate to the bottom and cut down the different tree branches that are in the way here. In this case, I'd already built in this area. And then basically you're going to go through and look for the crevice that has some light coming out of it, and look at the rock that is being illuminated by the light above. Essentially what you're going to want to do is go through and throw a bomb to go through and shatter that rock, and you do have to throw it from up here. So there's a good chance most likely you will fail and drop a couple and potentially blow yourself up, but just know that if you can break that rock, there is a path underwater that will lead to it, and you can come out on the other side there, and there's a whole bunch of free upgrade materials. Alright, and here is the very last secret I have for you today. So larvae can be extremely annoying in the beginning, especially when they're in large groups. But did you know there's actually a way to tell what it is that you're digging up? If you listen to the audio cue when you are near a burrowed bog, if it is quiet or faint, then it's a grub. Let's listen. Alright, and if it is loud and obnoxious, then it's the larva. Now, when the burrowed bugs are grouped up, this can be a little difficult to distinguish, as some of these sounds might overrule the others, but it might help you with certain encounters, and if you can at least single them out or separate them, then you pretty much will always know what it is that you're digging up. Alright guys, well I hope you did enjoy today's video. If you did, then please consider leaving a like and subscribing to see more grounded content in the future.